one and only notorious, glorious V, the Gorilla Economist, coming to you live with my man El Cuco, aka CJ, and we're here giving you the news, the views, and all the information important to you. So check us out, RogueNews.com. Follow us on Twitter at RealRogueNews. Check us out on Facebook. And check us out on every single podcasting app known to humanity. We are firing on all cylinders because the dynamic duo is back together. So it's exciting. With that being said, guys, go check out our sponsor, mycbdedibles.com. Mycbdedibles.com, the place where you get Michelin star chef designed vaping products that are clean, safe, delicious, and will not kill you. Okay,
that's
will
important.
Not kill you.
That's important. That's important.
That's important. You know, because you don't want to have a vape that's going to kill you because you might have things to do today. You might have places to go. But so check it out, mycbdedibles.com. Heck, man, they got some delicious doggy treats, coffee, you name it. We're giving it to you raw right there. Beautiful. mycbdedibles.com. And also check out the Gorillas Patreon every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I get into the technicals, the absolute nitty-gritty of the technicals. I'll be on there right after this broadcast, so check out the Patreon link. Both those links for CBD Edibles and the Patreon right there on the description box, so make sure you guys check that out. With that being said, Siege, what's crack-a-lackin', bro?
Hey, good morning, V. It's good to be back. Had a lot of fun on yesterday's show. Went back and I read almost every single comment, replied. So appreciate all the love from our Rogue listeners, and it's good to be back, bro.
It was a bombastic show, to say none the least, brother. It was a bombastic show. See, you got a lot of things going on today, my man. A lot of things we want to break down. You want to know something, bro?
What's that? What's up?
Back in 2000, it was like 2013, I think it was going into November. I remember now. Here we go. November of 2013. A certain gorilla went on a Canadian radio program and said, I have heard news that bankers are going to start dropping like flies. That certain gorilla also said that there are hit teams in operation in Wall Street, and you're going to hear stories of banker suicides. And I'm going to tell you that it's going to start, and there's probably 53 some odd guys that are going to be dropping dead. And again, January 2014, I think it was January 10th, 2014, I was again on another Canadian radio program, which was live streamed throughout the internet, and I got to go ahead and find it. I think it was Paul Sandhu's program, if I remember correctly. And I was also on the Hagmans at that time. And I said hit teams were on operation in Wall Street. Bankers are going to start dropping dead. They're going to be, quote-unquote, suicided. You're going to hear them jumping out of windows and have all these weird, inexplicable deaths. Literally 5 days after yours truly has said that, a certain William Brokesmith from Deutsche Bank, William Brokesmith, he hung himself. And when he hung himself in his London flat, people were like, oh my God, why would he hang himself? And I said, and I went on another program and I said, it has begun. It has begun. Because look, I was one of the first guys out there talking about Deutsche Bank, and nobody else was doing it really. And I think it was me and Willie at that time. I can't remember, but pretty much, yeah, that was it. But anyway, Brokesmith dropped dead. And then soon after, we had Gabriel McGee being supposedly jumped off the, and folks, this is how you know it's not made up. This is real. Gabriel McGee, who is an head of IT and trading for JP Morgan, jumps out of the 33rd floor. You know, that number has no significance, I'm sure.
Right? None at all.
The 33rd floor of the JP Morgan headquarters, and he takes a flying lesson. He gets Banker Airlines 101. They throw him out. They found his body the next day. and they said, hey, you know what? Gabriel McGee has no history of suicide. He wrote an email to his girlfriend saying that he's going to be back home. He text messaged her saying he's going to be he's looking forward to having dinner with her. Never came home. He took a flight right out of the 33rd floor of the JP Morgan headquarters, and his body was found the next morning. And of course, all the security cameras in London, which is the most heavily surveilled, where they have security cameras not only on the streets but all around the building, especially a major banking building like the one in the JP Morgan headquarters in the city of London, which has cameras everywhere. Of course, the cameras, CJ, just like it was in Jeffrey Epstein's cell, the cameras weren't working. Just like when Princess Diana died, all of a sudden the cameras in the tunnel just shut off before her car went through. Wow. So when Gabriel McGee died, we had another guy, Ryan Crane. And what does he work for? JP Morgan. Where? Right here in New York City. He was how old, CJ? He was a healthy as a horse, fitness dude, lives in Connecticut. He was only 37 years old. Dead of a heart attack, CJ. How convenient. You know, because I know a lot of 37-year-old active, healthy guys who die of heart attacks, CJ. I mean, I'm sure you know a lot of 30-year-old guys.
Oh, yeah, all the time, V. I mean, yeah.
Heart attack, stroke.
It's every other day occurrence, V.
Yeah, man. I heard osteoporosis is prevalent among 30-year-olds. It's just terrible, you know? And so Ryan Crane died. And who did he work for? JP Morgan. And what was his job, CJ? Head of IT and trading. So you know what that means? And I was the first one out there connecting it. And that's when I got the call. V, we need you to stop talking about this. You can talk about this, but don't talk about that. You know, the famous phone call, CJ. That's when I got it. Because I said Ryan Crane and Gabriel McGee work and talk together. Because the London desk is always on the phone with the New York desk. Always happens. They're always in communication. They're always in cahoots. And because they're both the same position, the same rank, they saw the same thing. And what was that? All the financial fraud relegated to certain individuals, to certain crimes that have led to the global financial collapse of 2008, which would have led to the entire global financial collapse that we should have been experiencing in 2016. But when a monkey wrench by the name of Trump went in there and stopped the entire process from happening. And then what happens? Okay, what happens next is this. Okay, when these bankers, there's a whole bunch of others. We have another guy at JP Morgan headquarters in Hong Kong. He jumps off the building. Everybody's just jumping off the buildings these days, CJ. It's unbelievable. They're all skydiving now.
I don't live near any tall buildings, V. I don't live near any tall buildings.
Don't live any, folks. If you're in the city, especially when things start unwinding again in the next few years, if you're in a city, a major metropolitan financial hub, please do not walk near a tall building. You might have a banker fall on top of you. Please be careful. Please be careful. So anyway, so you had a guy from the Russell 2000 drop dead. We had another guy who was involved in titling for mortgages and mortgage-backed securities. And what did he do, CJ? He committed suicide. You remember this, Siege? He committed suicide by doing what?
Yeah.
Shooting himself.
Yep.
8 times with a nail gun. Can you imagine how that went, CJ? He's in the tool shed. He's like, I'm gonna get this done. I'm gonna whack myself right now. I can't take it anymore. I'm gonna do it with this industrial nail gun. Ouch! That didn't work. Ow! That didn't work. Ow! That didn't work. Ow! That didn't work. Ow! That didn't work. Yeah, 8 times, CJ. 8 times with a nail gun before he finally died and killed himself. Because, when you want to commit suicide, there's no more efficient way, CJ. Not getting into his garage and turning on the car, not, slitting his wrist in a vertical manner and jumping into a hot water bathtub, not hanging himself like Robin Williams, or jumping off a building like his other, cohort, all his other banker friends, like they like to fly off of buildings. He didn't go skydiving that day, CJ. He thought he was going to go out with a bang. He was going to have a glorious death in a tool shed with a nail gun 8 times. Because when you want to commit suicide, that's what you want to think. Where's the nail gun? How do I get to Home Depot, the hardware store, and get my nail gun to my head as quickly as possible? I mean, Jesus Christ! So they want you to believe this crap, okay? And the other guy who died, the other guy who died, who drowned in 3 inches of water. Isn't that amazing, CJ? He was found. He worked for the Russell 2000. I forgot his name. He jumped off a bridge. But the problem was he died. Honestly, it was 6 inches of water. He drowned in 6 inches of water, and he jumped off a 4-foot bridge. It happens all the time, CJ. You got to watch out for these low bridges with streams. If you're jumping off a 3 to 4 foot high bridge over a stream, you have to be careful because it can kill you. Because we know you don't want to jump off the George Washington Bridge, the Brooklyn Bridge, the San Francisco Bay Bridge. You don't want to jump off the Verrazano Bridge. You don't want to jump off any one of those large bridges, CJ. But you want to find a bridge approximately 6 feet, 46 feet off the ground from a stream that's about 6 inches, a running, bubbling brook. That's the best way to commit suicide because you instantly drown. Instantly drown, CJ.
V, those plastic kiddie pools are also very dangerous for bankers too.
Very dangerous. Plastic kiddie pools are very, very dangerous. So what were these banksters hiding? What were they all dropping like flies? Why did 53 bankers? How many of them were thrown out of hotel windows? How many of them died under mysterious circumstances? How many of them were... How did this all happen? It all goes back to one trade, and this is the one that I proved to everybody. It goes back to one trade, and one trade was the trigger. You remember back in 2013, CJ, what prominent American bank would boast every single day that they had 0 days without a loss in trade? Who would that be? See, do you remember?
No, Lehman.
It wasn't Lehman. It was bigger. It starts with a J, ends with an M.
JP Morgan?
That's it, brother.
Okay.
Yep, the House of Morgan would brag. Good old Jamie Boy Diamond. Jamie Diamond will be out there. Jamie's like, hey, guess what, guys? We had 364 days without a single loss in trade. And they're bragging about it. And they got this hotshot trader, okay? Bruno Ixel. Yes, good old Bruno Ixel. I met him one time years ago. Hotshot trader for the city of London, worked at JPM. And Bruno, they called him the London Whale. Well, that day, Bruno Ixel was trading a derivatives market, specifically the IDEN 9, which is risky what? IR swaps, interest rate swap derivatives, which is linked to a great and wonderful way of manipulating what the LIBOR would be the next day when the banks would try to figure out what their derivative positions were, and that would literally, especially the IR swaps, that would dictate what the LIBOR that they would agree on, what the LIBOR would be the next day. So anyway, Bruno Ixel, the London Whale, blows a trade in the IR market. JPM originally reported as just a $9 million trading loss. $9 million eventually became, I don't know how, like $50 billion. Some insane number, see. I don't exactly remember it, right? Because it's been so long. And all of a sudden, that was the fuse that lit the entire banker cabal coming apart. Because when that trade was blown, there was the collateral that was underlying those IR swaps. And what was those collateral, CJ? Drum roll, please. Rehypothecated Chinese gold sitting in the Bank of England and the New York Fed Vault. And if you know anything about the New York Fed Vault, folks, in New York City, you would know that there is a tunnel that is underground that connects the New York Fed to One Chase Plaza, JP Morgan's headquarters. It's a known thing. Okay? Now, watch this. Okay? Hope everybody's following along. When that happened, Jamie Dimon had an oh shit moment. I went on the air and I said the JP Morgan is lying about the trading loss. And I said that JP trading loss is probably north of 153. I think it was 153 billion or something like that, right? So, and so at that point, when it was months later, I think on C-SPAN that actually confirmed what I have been told, that it was like $150 billion trading loss. confirmed. It was the largest trading loss ever for JP Morgan. It was a massive. I think the biggest trading loss in Wall Street history. Okay? Chase panics on rehypothecating Chinese gold. Then next you know, gold disappears from the New York Fed. The Fed was shut down for a few weeks as they took out the real gold, put it through the underground tunnel. And I'm saying a lot here. Okay, I'm saying a lot here. So I don't want to say too much lest I also fly out of a window somewhere, or you find me with a nail gun and a laptop, with some picture of some boy from Thailand saying "V, I love you, XOXO," and they try to ruin my rep. But anyway, so what happens? JP Morgan freaks out. Gold is moved from the New York Fed into the JP Morgan headquarters underground into their private gold vault. Okay. Then the New York Fed this is Germany's gold. This is German gold. And this is why the New York Fed dragged their feet in giving back Germany its repatriated gold, because they had to cover the Chinese short. They had to cover the gold position that they lost with the Chinese. They had to reinstate the gold that was given to JP Morgan. Okay, so check this out. They were putting in gold dipped tungsten bars at the New York Fed. So when people come in and they see it, oh look, your gold is fine, and they would do it in such a way they were trying to match up the serial numbers as close as possible in the hallmarks. That's what they were doing. Okay, everything. It was a very well calculated fraud, and I'll tell you how we caught this later on as well. And man, I'm seeing a lot today, Siege. And then what happened was this. When the gold was gone into JP Morgan's vault, JP Morgan's One Chase headquarters, I think, was about $3.5–4 billion building. Okay, and in the August of 2014, or was it 13? Yeah, same year, August 2014, right? Dude, They put up their headquarters for sale, and guess who they sold it to? A Chinese sovereign wealth fund. They sold their headquarters with the private gold vault to a Chinese company for the tune of $750 million. Why the hell would you do that? It's a $4 billion building. You're selling it for $750 million. It is a fire sale. Okay? The Chinese took it, and then watch this now. You have the gold that was that went along with it, and they recovered that gold. The damage that was done was irreparable, because this also coincided in 2014. They also, they were still short gold, right, CJ?
Absolutely.
It was still short gold because it was a great deal of gold that was taken. That was Chinese rehypothecated gold. So the next thing they did is this. In around the same year, 2014, what also started? Ukraine, right? The Ukraine crisis. And then what happens? The Ukraine crisis happens, and then you had the Maidan. And then what happened? In the middle of the night, 34 tons of gold were airlifted by a crack special forces unit, and it was flown. And everybody said it was flown over to the New York Fed. Dude, the financial crimes is huge. So what does this all mean? What does this all mean? Well, I'm going to tie it in together for you guys. Here we go. It turned out yesterday with this whole Ukraine thing, right? Folks, let me explain something to you. In the realms of international banking, and I'll tell you this from my experience in moving and working in capital finance and moving money overseas for clients, I will tell you this. Yes, it is true. Ukraine, Latvia, Bulgaria, Cyprus, Dubai are the biggest, and of course Macau, but they are, and Hong Kong, they're the biggest money laundering facilities and operations in the entire planet. If you want to launder money, if you want to move capital, you do it through those countries. And what happened the other day, folks, is very interesting. William Brooksmith, the first banker that died from the entire London whale trade. William Brooksmith. His documents supposedly were subpoenaed by the House Intelligence Committee. Adam Schiff for Brains, the criminally insane Adam Schiff for Brains, who looks like the human fly with his huge bug eyes, right? Here's a story from our buddies over at Zero Hedge. A trove of insider Deutsche Bank documents was subpoenaed by the House Intelligence Committee Chairman Adam Schiff for Brains after a bizarre series of events involving of no less than Moby. I don't know when Moby gets into this, but anyway, Val Brooksmith. Yeah,
He was Adam Schiff's
Val
neighbor for
Brooksmith.
some reason.
He's what?
Moby was Adam Schiff's neighbor at some point.
Oh, geez. Yeah. Maybe they all took trips to Pedophile Island with Jeffrey Epstein.
Perhaps.
So anyway, Val Brooksmith, stepson of the top Deutsche Bank executive, Williams Brooksmith, who committed suicide in January 2014 in the wake of several banking scandals he has overseen, had been trying to sell or distribute information from the German bank, which he obtained after his father's death, which may have contained information on Donald Trump. It doesn't. I can boldly tell you that. Mr. Brooksmith's late father, William, was a senior executive there, and his son possessed a cache of confidential bank documents. CJ, you know, when I pass away, and if I was a heinous criminal bankster, I too want to make sure that my son or my children have confidential cache of bank documents. I mean, wouldn't you want that, CJ?
Oh yeah, give it to him.
Yeah, because when I die, CJ, like you can imagine the lawyer at the will office, and you, Gorilla Jr., you will have a cache of secret bank documents given to you by your long deceased father. Here. Oh, gee, thanks, Dad. I mean, if I was a kid, that's what I want. Wow. I don't want $1 million. I don't want his estate. I don't want the Ferrari. No, I want a cache of bank statements. I mean, who believes this crap? Okay. If you think some snot-nosed kid who looks like a barista from Starbucks, that his ultimate thing is that he's got a cache of bank statements, that's like his ultimate will. Some of the documents were password protected, and there was no telling what secrets held or how explosive they would be. Yeah, it would show the criminality of the European oligarchs along with the corrupt American elites running an entire global wealth extraction, global fleecing scheme for the last several decades. That's what it would show. Other areas of focus grew out of Deutsche Bank's long history of criminal misconduct. Why is it, CJ, that there's a lot of criminal misconduct between these large banks? Deutsche Bank and terrorists, UBS and terrorists, Credit Suisse and terrorists, Wells Fargo and Mexican drug cartels, HSBC and narco traffickers. I mean, the list goes on and on.
Always.
And, you know, Deutsche Bank has a wonderful history, just like everybody else, right? Manipulating markets, evading taxes, bribing foreign officials, violating international sanctions, defrauding customers, laundering money. I mean, God, it goes on and on and on. Oh, my God. Eventually, Brooksmith introduced Schiff through the musician Moby. Schiff's friend and neighbor who said the CIA, the cocaine import agency, asked him to help spread dirt on Trump and Russia. And when Schiff refused to pay for the materials, because Schiff's a cheap bastard. Okay? Schiff is a chief. He's a cheap bastard. He only has money for child, to molest children. He has money for that, but he doesn't have money to actually pay for documents to smear a political rival. He doesn't have any funds for that. So anyway, Siege, what happened? Okay, so he tried to extract money from them. He pushed to be hired as a consultant to the committee. That was a non-starter. Okay, wait. Mr. Brooks recorded a phone call. In some respects, you and your father, vicariously through you, will go down in American history as a hero. Listen to what this asshole says, right? Listen to what this asshole Schiff says. You and your father will vicariously through you will go down in American history as a hero and as a person who really broke open an incredibly corrupt president and administration. This is the most stupidest idiot in the world. This criminally insane. You know, people should be asking Adam Schiff wherever he goes, hey, Adam, whatever happened in the Standard Hotel? Whatever happened, Adam, when you were passed out drunk off the adrenochrome? the adrenaline-rich blood of a small child. What happened there, Adam, at the Standard Hotel in LA? What happened? Dude, I can't wait for the day when these guys are absolutely brought to justice.
Oh, absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Unreal. So this William Brooksmith, the ghost of Christmas past, the ghost of Bankers past, comes back from the dead, CJ, with these documents. And what does it show? CJ, what it shows is this. With the real banking documents and the real crime in Ukraine, and this is why they're terrified of Donald Trump. The Trump administration, and what I've been told from sources, is hot on the heels of an entire wealth extraction and economic collapse scheme. This scheme started in the 50s, early 50s, right after Bretton Woods. This was the plan to create the European Union. Even back in the 50s, we read all the documents, the white papers. This was the reason why Euroclear was started by J.P. Morgan in 1963 as a bolt hole safe operation in order to sell and broker the upcoming Eurobonds at that time to the European Economic Community, and then the European Economic Union, and then eventually the European Union, which we have today. The entire scheme was there to siphon the hard asset wealth of every respective nation that these central banks are in, to impoverish them, to crush their populations, to displace them with migration. And we see it all over Europe. Europe's dying. I mean, Europe is being run roughshod by North African migrants who do not share the values, the culture, or the traditions of Europeans. And we see that here in the U.S. as well. This is all a design plan. They were to take and confiscate all this wealth, use all sorts of paper manipulated derivatives and financial instruments. And then once they've collapsed it, they were to reorder us, North America and Europe, under one totalitarian governing body, where we would live like serfs in their neo-feudalistic nightmare. That was the thing that was supposed to happen. And it didn't happen because a certain orange man won the 2016 presidential election here in the United States. This is what it's going to show. The banking documents and the details and this whole Ukraine thing with Biden, folks, it's not relegated to just natural gas. If you think this is about Burisma and liquid LNG, liquid natural gas and or oil, folks, the oil reserves that are in Ukraine, any sort of liquid natural gas that's in Ukraine was in Crimea and off the coast of the Black Sea, which the Russians have and is in total Russian control. So why even bother having a quote-unquote, we're an energy company in the Ukraine? Why even bother? You'd have that because it's a shell company. CJ, this makes about as much sense if I were to set up if I were to set up let me think of this one. This is the equivalent, CJ, if I were to set up, let's say, an oil company in the middle of a floating iceberg. You'd be like, why is he setting up an oil company in the middle of a floating iceberg? That doesn't make sense. Right? It makes about as much sense as Burisma. But you got to understand, Burisma is a front company for what? CIA. Burisma is a front company for what? Spavoda. Burisma is a front company for what? Mossad. Burisma is a front company that allowed the deep state to profit in money laundering, profit in the profits taken from child and human trafficking, profit in narco trafficking. And that's what this whole entire thing will show. And you better believe the damn British royals were heavily up to their eyeballs the Germanic goat family who are masquerading as Britons. They were up to their eyeballs, CJ, in this whole entire operation as well. And that is why the entire takedown of Trump goes to London, originates there. It's tied in with Ukraine. It's tied in with all of this. It's incredible, man. And this is why they're terrified, CJ. This is why it's a huge thing. And I know you got to jump off soon, brother. So let's cover one more thing, and we'll take it down.
And B, excellent breakdown for people. And this is how you always have to look at the news cycle, right? There's always a lot more details of what's going on behind the scenes. So perfect job of breaking that down, exposing what truly is going on there, because this is a lot more information that's there that hopefully, and I think that's why the administration was pushing hard. That's why they wanted Barr, they wanted Giuliani to get involved, to get this information, get this data, to figure out exactly who the players were, because it's a big net that they're throwing out there with Ukraine.
It is huge, man. It is huge, and there's going to be more into it. And I'm going to get further into it into Patreon. So if you guys haven't done so already, go over to the Patreon and subscribe. I'll be there in about 30 minutes to break it down even further. And make sure you subscribe to this channel. CJ and I are live. We're hot. We're killing it. This is the best place for real geopolitical news and information, better than anyone. And I'll put us up against anyone. We rock the house. So check it out. Hit the thumbs up button. And with that being said, we're over and out. CJ, I guess I'm taking it away.
Roger that.